Pharmacy honors prescription plans including Medicare, and Health Mart pharmacists are trusted healthcare resources, knowing that nothing is more important than your family's well-being. Visit your nearest drugstore, Health Mart Pharmacy, 626 Center Drive, Town and Country Shopping Center, Lincoln, and at 9576 Highway 10 in Vail.
The colors are in full bloom at Carolina Hardware and Garden Center on the Reedsville Road in Lincoln. From beautiful flowering plants to hanging baskets to all kinds of vegetable plants, you'll find it all. 15 varieties of tomato, pepper plants, and squash, plus 4.5-year proven winter plants and perennials. And Carolina Hardware and Garden Center has water fountains, bird baths, and spring flags, along with a full line of Husqvarna lawn and garden equipment. Carolina Hardware and Garden Center on the Reepsville Road in Lincoln.
Before you plan your vacation, plan a visit to Country Camping Corner on Oak Grove Road between Shelby and Kings Mountain. Whether you're heading to the beach or to the mountains, Country Camping Corner has the right recreational vehicle for you. Campers, pop-ups, fifth wheels, all you need for your next vacation experience. Country Camping Corner at the Oak Grove Road Highway 74 bypass intersection between Shelby and Kings Mountain. Open Tuesday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30. Saturdays, 8:30 to 4. That's Country Camping Corner, Oak Grove Road, Kings Mountain.
Good morning. It's time now for the Community Profile program this Monday, the 20th of April, 2015. Milton Baker, along with co-host and executive producer of Community Profile, Miss Sandy Alexander, in the house. Well, Sandy, good morning to you on this Monday.
Good morning, Milton.
Weather can't make up its mind outside today, whether it wants to
cannot.
rain or sunshine.
I know.
Got a little sunshine now. 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, was
Downpour.
the bottom fell out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a good program for you today, and if you would please introduce our guest on the Community Profile.
Okay, I'll be glad to. We're pleased to have Brittany Waters with us today. She's an attorney with the King Law Offices in Shelby, and there's a subject that we're going to touch on and talk about that a lot of people just kind of procrastinate and don't do. So we're going to find out from Brittany all about making your will, and do it for yourself, do it for your family. But first, Brittany, hello.
Hey, Brittany.
Hey, how are y'all doing
We've
today?
been talking a good while in there. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about the law firm you work for.
Okay, Sandy, my name is Brittany Waters, as I've already been introduced to each of you. I am a native of Cleveland County, and I decided to come back here and practice law. I am an attorney at King Law Offices. We have 6 different locations right now across the North and South Carolina, and we are continuing to grow. I mainly work out of the Shelby office. I am a native of Cleveland County, as I just said, so I'm happy to be back in my hometown practicing law. King Law Offices started off in 2002. The founding partner, Brian King, basically he's the one that started it all, and now we have, I believe, 8 attorneys, and we are going to have 4 more in the fall. We are continuing to grow, and I am thrilled to be a part of the firm.
Mm-hmm. Now, in addition to wills and such, what other type of law services, lawyer services or attorney services do you provide for folks out there?
Personally, I do a lot of domestic cases, which involve divorce, custody, adoptions, property distribution. I also do all of the criminal defense work in the Shelby location. And I do a lot of estates and wills and estate planning for those. Our firm does a variety of different, we handle a lot of different legal issues, from personal injury to Social Security, disability as well. Pretty much you name it, we can help you with it.
Now we're here to talk about wills today, and wills, that's something like Sandy said in the opening there. A lot of people put it off. You never know when your time is coming, and if you don't have that will ready. But what are some of the things people maybe don't know about having a will, the misconceptions people have about making a will or not making a will. What's some of the areas there you can touch on for us?
In my experience, I've learned that a lot of people just assume that if they're married, all of their property is going to go to their spouse and that'll be fine. Or they may have belongings that they want to pass on to other family members, and they verbally tell them that during their life. But legally, that's not really, if you don't have a will, you don't have the control of who it's going to pass to. There is a statute that you have to follow if there is no will, and it would pass automatically to those descendants by statute, not by who you would choose to have your belongings.
Okay, so it's best. And now, preparing a will, what do you need to, before they come to see you, and of course they call you to make an appointment, so forth and so on, but what do you tell the client there that they need to have ready? What do they need to be thinking about or doing before they come to your office?
Well, there's two main things that they would need to think about, and one is who they want to handle the probate process and all the paperwork and documents, and making sure that they are looking in the best interest of the state. That would be the executor, or the executrix would be the female version of that. And secondly, they would need to decide who they want to share in their estate, and always be sure to have an alternate, because if the beneficiary, for instance, if you are married and you want everything to go to your wife, that is A-okay, but what happens in the unlikely event, but it certainly does happen, that you were to die in an automobile accident at the same time, you would want to have an alternate beneficiary.
Never thought of that, Sandy.
That's right.
That's right. Never thought about both husband and wife could pass away, like she said.
That's right.
At the same time, any type of accident or something like that.
Well, now this is the day of the internet, Brittany, and I know a lot of people go on LegalZoom and say, I'm gonna make my will, and but there's some controversy about LegalZoom, and you want to know, number one, that you're doing it right when the time comes, that you don't have any kind of, oh no, I wonder if I did this right. It's too late then. But what do you think about these online services?
Well, right now, our state bar, the North Carolina State Bar, is taking initiative and action, legal action against LegalZoom for what we would consider the unauthorized practice of law. And, the internet is great. We actually are very high-tech, I would say, where all of our files are paperless. You can pay for your attorney's fees online. We definitely use that as a resource, but really, for something like this, it is very important to sit down, or at least over the phone, speak with an attorney who's licensed to practice law, not just a questionnaire on the internet. There are certain elements that have to be kind of checked off to make sure that the will is proper, and an attorney needs to be the one to advise a client of that, so that everybody is going to die, unfortunately, so that will is going to be come into play at some point. And there needs to be a licensed attorney to make sure that it is a valid will, and that you're spending your time and your money on that, and we would hate for when something happens to you, for that not to actually be valid. And there's certain things that people need to know. For instance, a copy of a will is not going to be any good. The only will is the original will that can be probated through the clerk's office. Just different things like that.
As you said, it's just a fact of life. Everybody passes. Therefore, everybody should have a will. But when should you start thinking about making? Is there a better age than not to start thinking about it? What's the best advice on that?
Certainly, it is a case-by-case basis. You have some younger people who may have lost loved ones and may have come into some assets that most other young people don't have, and certainly they would want a will. to protect that and see that it goes to the appropriate people. If you're married and have children, even if you are younger, I would definitely think that that would be something that you would want to make sure that your spouse and your children are protected. And so there's not really a certain age. I think that once you're an adult, you definitely should think about that, what belongings you have and how you would like them to be advised at your death.
Yeah. Now, what if someone out there says, well, you already mentioned, you can tell somebody, well, you're getting this or you're getting that, but it's never taken to a lawyer, never made official. But what if they've written some things down? What if they've just got some things down? It's in their handwriting. They've signed it. Maybe they haven't had it notarized. I don't know if that would even matter if they did or not. But what if it's something like that and the family, they know about this, and could that hold up, something like that?
There is a type of will that you can be a handwritten will, but there's certain elements that you have to have in that. So no, I would say that most of the time, 99% of the time, a written note is not going to qualify. You're going to have witnesses. It's going to have to be notarized, and there is that exception to that rule, but most of the time that's not going to hold up. Per se.
Okay, I'm going to use a fictional character here. Say John Doe passes away. He don't have a will, but he's got 5 children, and he's got a lot of land, houses, period, and he don't have a will at all. How would you? What would you do in that case?
In that case, we would have to follow what's called the Intestate Succession Act. It's a statute which basically directs how and what should be devised. But the problem with that is, normally, in my experience, I've seen when you have that many people, it's hard for everyone to make the same decision. And then you have to go through different court proceedings. You may have to have a partition at the clerk's office to either sell or divide the property. There are families that I'm sure do get along, and it hasn't been an issue, but from my experience, it not only helps the legal process, but it also helps family members not have to worry about what is to come. They already know because it's in the will. That's what the decedent, and when I say decedent, I mean the person who has passed, wanted. And so you don't have to worry about, well, what did Daddy want? Or Daddy told me this, and Daddy told me I could have that, which, as I said, is not going to hold up. But it just takes that worry off of your loved ones who are there and who are going to have to deal with this.
And now wills can go anywhere from a pretty well cut and dry simple will to some very in-depth issues when there's a lot of individual items, say some family heirlooms, something like that are left, or a great deal of wealth and money to be divided up and things like that. So there's everything from just a pretty cut and dried quick read to some wills that are very very complex, I guess.
That is correct, and that's something we could talk a lot about as well. And there are trusts that can be in wills, and trusts are something that are documents that come in handy in those times when there are a lot of assets that you want to protect, and you have tax issues that you don't want your loved ones to have to pay, thousands of dollars in taxes because of the large assets that they will have.
When there is a will and everything's, like I said, it's pretty spelled out who gets what goes where, that sort of thing. But you hear sometimes contesting a will. Is that a very common thing that happens, that a family member or someone will contest a will, and how is that handled?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say it was a very common, but it does happen on, it's not as rare as you would think.
Yeah, what grounds could someone contest a will?
Well, there's usually fraud and undue influence. Obviously, the person that is the decedent, who is the testator at the time, who's making these decisions, definitely has to have the capacity to sign a will. If the doctor has said that they are not competent to make these kinds of decisions, and then they are signing their own will, then you have an issue there. If someone is influencing them to for their benefit, then you may have grounds. It's not an easy task because our state takes it serious what the testator, who would be the person drafting, or they would be the person who has the will, their desires. Obviously, the state of North Carolina and our case law and our statutes take that serious, and it has to be something pretty clear that, hey, there's an issue here, but it does happen because, unfortunately, death is, I think, one of those things that where there's emotions are high, and you may have family members who already have a strained relationship.
Yeah, I guess there's like I say, everything should be in writing with the lawyer's stamp of approval on it, or whatever the law involved. But what if there's a case where someone has been, here we go again, a verbal thing, and they have lived at this place, or they have used this property for so many years, the person dies without a will. Is there any rights that the person would have that took care of this person, they lived there for so many years or whatever? Is there any really legal right they would have at that point?
It just depends on the situation. If there was any agreement in writing, if there was ever a deed transfer, or if there was ever a when I say deed transfer, that person may have given them what's called a life estate to live there, while they may not have the full rights to that estate. But I have seen that situation where there have been situations that the person did live there and did have to end up moving out. So, if you are in that position and you are residing somewhere, you need to make sure that you're protected if the true owner, passes away, because a verbal agreement is not always going to hold up.
Okay, Sandy?
Well, we're going through that now. I'll just put myself in the mix. My mother passed away in August, and she had a will, and we're following it by the letter. My brother's executor. So far, we've not had a problem. I don't anticipate a problem with my brother, because we're going to respect her wishes and everything. But it is a what's the right word I'm looking for? It's something else. But if we didn't have a will, oh my goodness, it would have been a tangled web. But everything's spelled out in black and white, that we can read and that we will follow. But now, if somebody doesn't have a will at all, and there's a good bit of property and possessions, and it ends up and goes to court, will the state of North Carolina spread it out between the children, or what would happen there? They didn't have a will at all.
Like I said, it would fall to the statute, and that would depend on who was living at the time. If there's a spouse living, then they would certainly get at least a percentage, if not all, of the estate, depending upon how much there was. And then you have to look at, is this the second marriage, and do you have children? There's a lot of, in this day and age, it is a good likelihood that you've been married before, and you may have children from a previous marriage. And that would just be that would just depend. Now, if there's property that, say there's a tract of land that's going to be to go to 4 different children and they can't decide what to do with it, then the clerk of court may get involved upon filing a petition to see. But that is just a process that nobody really wants to have to go through.
That's right.
And I've seen a lot of family members it's just a sad situation. It can tear a family apart.
Oh, yeah.
Now, at the reading of the will, does the attorney have to be that? If the person went through the handle list, does the attorney or an attorney need to be present at the reading of the will to the family, to the ones who will be receiving anything in inheritance?
No, what we do, which I think is good practice, is our clients, who would be the one that would be the testator, when they come into our office to sign the will, an attorney is there to answer any questions, which we have already gone over with them before we've drafted the will.
Mm-hmm.
And there has to be 2 witnesses and a notary. But at that time, when normally our advice would be to keep that in a safe place and for the executor to know where the will is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And but after that, the attorney would not necessarily be the one to read the will to the family members.
Yeah.
We would get involved if there was any need, like Sandy was saying. She is going through the process of probating the will. A lot of times we will assist the executor in doing that, because it is a tedious job.
Mm-hmm.
And say the will they've already come to you, they've gotten the will, everything's set, ready to go. At some point, they change their mind. They want to do things differently. Is that a very complicated issue there, or do you just go back in and you write a new will? How's that work?
That is not complicated at all, and I'm glad you asked that question, because that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that if I get my will executed today, meaning that I sign it, the appropriate witnesses signed it, it's sealed and put in with my safe documents, and I decide 2 days from now that I've gotten in an argument with one of the beneficiaries and I don't want them in my will anymore. Well, that's just fine. I can change it every day if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
They need to come back to you, the lawyer, to do this.
And there's 2 different ways that you can do that: through a codicil, which is an amendment to a will, or you can just have a whole new will drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a problem at all, and in fact, it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And the person who, it's their will, so it's my will. I have a copy of it with my important papers in a safe place. But something happens, of course, there's a copy of the will on file somewhere out there, right? If something happens to my copy and it's burned up or lost in a tornado or whatever.
But remember, the copy is not going to be any good. So
okay, so the person...
You would need to put that somewhere. I would say a fire proof safe or a safe deposit box.
At
but
the bank
always remember, if you put it in a safety deposit box, make sure someone has access to it, because we all know when that will is needed, you're not going to be there to tell them where it's at.
Yeah, you're not going to be
we went through that
much
too.
help there. Right. Okay.
We had to find a key.
Oh, my. Okay.
Miss Waters was telling me, I think this is wonderful. Their law office is going to be open on Saturdays from May through October, right across from the farmers market in Shelby, the new farmers market. And they're going to be there to talk to you about wills. Now, you won't find a law office open on Saturday, but they're going to be there to help anybody that comes. $99 will. I think that's a good price. That you can call and make an appointment to see one of the attorneys there, and just sit down and tell them what you want. As simple as that. They'll put it in the legal jargon. You don't have to worry about the legal words. They can do that.
That's correct. We'll be open once a month from May to October. It's going to be the second Saturday. We're kind of joining in the promotion that Uptown Shelby is doing with a lot of their local businesses are opening on that second Saturday. So we are very excited about this opportunity, and it kind of works for a lot of people. They work the same hours as we do, and we want to accommodate those people who are working during the week and not able to come. So we are going to be open from 9 to 12, and if you know that you're going to be able to do that, you can go ahead and call us and make an appointment, and we'll get you in.
Great. All right, one other question. The reason people put off having a will is facing their own mortality, and it's you're talking about after I'm gone. Is that a problem you deal with, and do people who come to see you have a hard time doing this because it is talking after all about their own mortality? Is that something you have to work with sometimes?
Absolutely, and that is something that I don't have a will right now, but I'm not married and I don't have children, but it's something that I am going to have to face myself. So here I am telling everybody to get a will, but it's just something that especially younger people don't want to think about. But I can't express how much, if you have children, if you're married, or if you have any significant assets, if you own a house. Right now I'm not a homeowner, but if you are a homeowner, that is something that you would want to think about as well.
Do people come into you sometimes and say, well, I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want anybody upset because they didn't get this, or I gave so-and-so that, I left at this house to so-and-so. Do you hear that a lot? I don't want anybody upset.
Right, I do. And one thing that I make sure that I do is I don't want to rush anyone to make any decisions. So normally what I do is they come and talk to me. We do free consults. That's something that most law offices don't do, but we want them to feel that they can come to us. And so we sit down and talk about it. And I don't usually we meet twice. And the second time would be when they actually sign the will. And sometime in between the first meeting and the second meeting, we communicate about what their decisions have been as to, who would be the executor and who would be the beneficiaries, because that's an important document, and that is something that you shouldn't take lightly, and nothing that you should have to feel like within 30 minutes that you need to make that decision. So normally I encourage my clients to think about this.
The old-time TV movies and shows, I so-and-so being of sound mind and body, is that still used, or
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed a little bit, but it is something that the testator would have to sign to. And there has been some times when I've met with some individuals who I questioned whether or not they were able to execute these documents, and my advice is always to go to their physician and have them be evaluated and then send that documentation to me. So,
because that's something later on that could be contested, right?
Right. And I want, we want to make sure that they are able to make that decision, because we would hate for someone to benefit wrongfully.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andy?
Well, Brittany, we've enjoyed you being here. I think we've both learned something. I know the listeners have. Again, the King Law Office will be open on the second Saturday.
Second Saturday of every month from May to October.
Okay. And you have that phone number?
Yeah, the Shelby office is 704-466-3331, and we do have 6 locations across North and South Carolina. Our main number would be 828-286-3332. You can reach us at either of those numbers, and we are looking forward to hopefully getting some of y'all in there and talking about some estate planning. And I just wanted to thank everybody for having me today. I've enjoyed this time getting to talk to y'all.
Well, thank you,
Well,
Brittany.
thank you.
We've enjoyed you.
I know our listeners, hey folks, you who listened in, you benefited from some very good and free
Very
legal
good.
advice here
That's
today.
right.
So thanks a lot to Brittany for coming in and sharing. Oh, my computer's making noise here on me. But anyway, thanks a lot to Brittany, for coming in and sharing this information with us.
Yes,
I've learned a lot.
I have too.
And there's questions I had. A lot of the questions I asked you, Brittany, were questions I had.
I am glad that I was able to help with that.
All right. Sandy, how about the upcoming shows, Community
Okay,
Profile?
we have Jackie Sipley with us tomorrow from the Shelby Chamber of Commerce. You're the one that says her title so well.
She is the executive director of tourism in Cleveland County.
Okay, she'll be here with us
You
tomorrow.
had me confused.
And Wednesday is pending, so I got to make some calls.
Okay, get on the phone.
Yeah.
Get on the phone. All right, folks, that's it for the Community Profile today. We thank you for tuning in. I know you learned some valuable information today. And if you have any questions at all, just contact Brittany Waters at the law office. It's the name of
King Law Office.
King Law Office. Okay. We'll see you next time.
Why would I pay to listen to the radio?
Remember, it's just the same here as anywhere else in the world.
How's that?
Everything has a price.
Not radio.